No.
Hmm?
No, they'll be good. Okay, yeah.
Okay, here we are.
I can get up and fix it if it is.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, come on.
What's going on?
What are we doing? Ah,
Zoom, you want to run that?
well, it shouldn't be taken. We shouldn't make us do this again. Let me get in again. What happened?
I don't know.
This has never happened before. I don't know what's going on here. Let me get out of here. Oh, there we are. Okay. Hi.
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 Took us a little bit of time. Oops. I don't know what that is. There we go. Took us a little bit of time this week to get on, but we're on and we're streaming to a few different places. And we are thrilled to have with us our good friends.
Who are these people?
Well, this is the Reverend Bill Perman, who is the
Can we hear them?
what?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
the
I think you can hear us. Yeah.
We can't
We
hear
can't
them.
hear you? Oh
No.
not again.
Uh-uh.
Are we not hearing you?
No
Jimmy, you
way.
pressed
We can
something.
hear you.
You did. You did something with this.
This.
Get it out.
That's our microphone.
Well, get it out. No, use my microphone. Get rid of this. That's what's not working. A minute.
I think
Okay, now maybe we can hear you. Can we hear you?
Okay, can you hear us?
We can hear. I told him.
Hmm.
Great. So, welcome to the Reverend Bill Perman, who is the minister, the pastor at the First Presbyterian Church in University City. And my dear the Reverend Dr. Deb.
Which one is which?
Deb Krause, who is professor of New Testament at Eden.
The incoming president of Eden Seminary, one of the gems of St. Louis. Eden is a gift to St. Louis. No, really, I mean, you know, we've known each other a long time, but we got close on the streets of Ferguson in 2014. Responded to the greater murder of Mike Brown. Blessed memory, I've been thinking a lot about lately. And
You know, you brought the students there. You opened up a whole world to them, you know, and gave them permission to be in that world and to be on those streets and to learn firsthand how to pastor. Really, because, you know, I remember they don't want the church on the streets when we first got there. Right? They did not want us there. We had to work hard to earn our place there. And I remember the night you were there when it happened. You know, you were there when we knelt down. We used our white pastor bodies, and there was
That's right.
bodies to
Reverend Sekou set that up.
right, and he had us kneel down.
Yep.
And pray. You know, between the militarized police of Ferguson, of all places, and these beautiful young protesters who had been working so hard. You know, one of the things I've been talking about is how they're the ones that kept us safe in the streets of Ferguson. They're the ones who could tell the good guys from the bad guys. You know, they're the ones who could help the young people who were a little bit out of control pull back and remember why we were there. And it was really only when the police became militarized, it was only
Absolutely.
that's when the violence happened.
Yeah.
Instead of working together with the people who, I mean, and that's why I'm all for getting rid of the police, because I think we have to start again. So
Yeah.
anyway,
They really need to be different. They need to do a whole lot less.
Yeah, we have to reinvent it. And I think it was
Right.
invented out of militarism, was invented to control. And so we have to reinvent, I think.
They should use the rabbinical model.
That's it.
Before the rabbis were rabbis, they always worked in pairs.
Mm.
And one took this side and one took that side. So one was an advocate and one was etc. So you always had somebody on the call that was an advocate for the source of the call.
Yes. See, that would be
revolutionary.
That would change everything, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
And then we wouldn't be blaming the poor 17-year-old girl in Minneapolis who filmed the arrest and ultimate death of George Floyd. Like I've read posts in the past few days asking why didn't she do something, as if it was her responsibility. She filmed it.
Something, right?
Like we wouldn't know about this if she hadn't been so brave.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the poor thing is extremely traumatized, and there's all this really bad internet rhetoric about her, and I just think it's horrific.
So we were just thrilled when you said that, that you would be on the Salon with us tonight.
We're big fans of the Salon.
Pardon?
What?
We're big fans of the Salon.
Oh.
I know it doesn't look like it, but
Well, no, let's first start
fun.
with some hair tips. And the first hair tip is always wear a dramatic hat.
I know.
That's the first hair tip. And actually,
First
that's
and
the end of the hair
foremost.
tip segment. This hair tip segment is over. That's it. Wear a dramatic hat.
Yeah.
I talked to my hairdresser today, actually. I don't really need a hairdresser.
You
It's a-
call the person who cuts your hair your hairdresser, Jim?
Yes, he's my hairdresser, yes. He's also my confidant and my intimate.
Oh,
He's like,
that's nice.
you know, it's like a barbershop, you know, you go,
Yeah.
it's totally social. It's actually my only social contact. Susan, who are these people?
These are our good friends.
Yeah.
So it's so kind of you. I know how busy everybody is, but we just thought, you know, at this time, since we do this salon, that it would be really important to, you know, to just talk about what's happening today. And
Here's the thing about the salon.
Hmm.
The salon is designed for, I originally started doing it with writers, because I learned it from somebody who was tutoring me in some ways. And we all brought our writing there and we talked about what we were working on. That's really what it was originally. It was a Quaker custom that a mentor to me had brought to Israel. So when we started doing the salon here, your comments was, I thought we were getting hair styling tips.
I need help.
And that cracked me up so hard. I didn't get the pun. I didn't think of it because this salon thing was so in my head, you know, the
I
way
know,
I
and it
experienced.
has a great intellectual history. I
Yeah.
actually knew about that, but I thought I was.
Yeah, but I was really glad to give that up, to be honest with you. I was released from the great intellectual history. So everyone since we started out with hair tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tonight's hair tip is basic, wear a dramatic hat.
Okay, good.
And the other thing is, though, I was teaching a class, I've been teaching a lot this way, you know, and I taught a class, I taught a pure class. The class has been great. We enter into an area that I maybe had not dared go into before. I mean, we really into some danger zones. And we came up with so many new things in these classes. It's just shocking to me and beautiful and lovely. And then I was thinking about it, and one of the notions, she's trying to quiet the dogs down. The dogs have gone into revolt on the front porch. So one of the things that I noticed was that when I taught this last class I taught, it was a very pure teaching and stuff, and I had a certain amount of time, you know, so I wanted to stay within my time limit. So I gave the teaching, and then I felt so cheated because when I was done, because I didn't mention anything about the circumstances of our lives now. I didn't talk about it at all, and how abnormal all of this is, including this medium, that we're doing this way. and everything else is so abnormal. And I didn't mention it. And so every time since that session, I've made it a business to make sure that we say something about that, you know, because we could stay with the purity of the concept of whatever it is that we're talking about. We have the capacity to do that. I mean, we teach about a lot of really interesting, pure things. And on the other hand, to do anything without mentioning where we're living and what's happening and what's around us and what we're swimming in, it seems just like outrageous that we could ignore that. You just can't. You can't do it.
Right.
So, for example, I'm totally isolated in this place here, and I hardly go out, you know. On the other hand, it's very hard to sleep because my skin has grown so thin, has thinned out so much, and everything that's happening seems so pressing to me and so difficult, and we don't have ways to talk about it. So that's also one of the subjects of this business is we do some pure stuff. We sing a song, I do some poetry that I've been writing. Susan usually tells a really long story about people that nobody recognizes, and it's really great, you know. And on the other hand, this session we really get to talk what's going on outside, because I know you guys been outside, you've been out there, so we're really glad you're here so that we can engage with the world. Because here's my world. See it? There it is. Here's my world.
Yeah. Ours too, mostly.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just, you know, been listening, of course, to all of the, you know, the people who we knew as protest leaders who now have positions of authority.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty exciting. I mean, I think the fact that Kim Gardner released all the people that were arrested without charges was huge. That was huge. And,
You have to explain, because people are watching, so you,
from all over. So
Yeah.
we, you know, it's been 6 years since Ferguson. And a lot of things have not changed. And so we have, you know, the murder of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and all the others that we've been naming, especially the trans women of color that we're seeing, you know, hearing the stories about. But, you know, some things have changed. For example, Rasheen Aldridge, who was a fast food worker, you know, that we had walked back to work, had trained before Mike Brown was murdered. He was a protester in 2014 in the Ferguson uprising. Today's the state representative, and he's leading the protests today. I mean, he's out there leading as a state representative. That's different. The fact that we have the city and the county prosecutors are both Black activists, really, you know, maybe in a little bit of a different way, but they certainly are Black activists. And the fact that Kim Gardner, the city prosecutor, released everybody that was arrested, including the looters, you know, without filing charges,
Right.
is huge, I think. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
You remember what it was like to get people out, and the stupid charges of we love on the highway for the same things that just happened. And she said, no, I'm not pressing. I'm not, you know, I mean, if they find that people are guilty, they'll have to go to court. But right now, you know, they didn't have enough to keep them. So she let them go, which is huge.
Right. Another way it's different though, is that, you know, we had Obama as president during 2014, and we had Eric Holder
Who came here.
general. And, you know, now we've got William Barr and,
he whose name shall not be mentioned.
oh, okay, I won't mention the name. But I mean, you know, so that's sort of interesting, right? So locally, Kim Gardner represents a huge shift, you know, progressively. And yet in other dimensions of our political life, probably at national, local, state levels, it's all in different ways, you know, it's changed the other way. So,
but I think I you know, my sense of another thing that's different, and this is not, you know, this is not a double-blind study or anything. It's just sort of watching my Facebook stream and seeing people who 6 years ago just were, I think, kind of clueless. And I hate that it takes this kind of violence over and over and over again for people to begin to wake up. But that does seem to be what it takes. And so many more people, it's incremental, right? But so many more people this time around, I think they just understand. I think there's a shift, at least among a lot of people I'm seeing on social media, a shift from the kind of one bad apple to there is a systemic problem in the police department. And you know, in my experience talking to some police officials last time around, I did not feel like departments were in any way open to even a conversation. You know, it was we want to send our community officer, and you can congratulate us on all the great things we do. A conversation was resisted, and any criticism just seemed to get huge pushback, no matter how gently you tried to approach this. So I don't think there has been any will in departments that I've seen internally to actually change much. And so the same thing happens over and over again. And I think people now are like, well, what about all that stuff from the Ferguson report? Did any police department pick that up and say, we're going to do some of this? It just all evaporated. And so it takes this happening again and again and again. But it does seem that people are incrementally getting a little bit more awake. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't take 100 more of these, you know, getting just thrown into this cataclysm.
Yeah, I think there's something happening like all over the world, that there's some sort of response everywhere. You know, the first couple of times we did this, my face was everywhere. She wasn't even in the it was like this. My face was like this. And every so often she would peek into the thing, and I didn't even notice until I watched it later. This little face would come in here. So I want to make sure that I get her.
We're perfectly balanced here, Jim.
I know.
I watched those initial ones. I was an early viewer, and I think those little glimpses of Susan may have saved it. I think it might be.
That could be. Well, yeah, we did get some fan mail that suggested that we feature her more, because there was especially one fan in particular that said, she's prettier than you are.
Only one.
That's a quote. There was one, but it was a profound comment, I thought. So I'm going to make sure I get her in on this, because, and then she'll tell a really long story about people that nobody has any familiarity with. And that's what we usually call it. Anyway, so we're talking with, for those of you who joined us, this is like the early days of radio. For those of you who joined us late, we're talking with Bill and Deb, and they live here in St. Louis with us. And Bill is, what's the name of your church?
First Presbyterian of St. Louis.
On Del Mar.
On Del Mar.
He's also a keeper of a pool, I believe, in several houses. They oversee several houses. And Deb is about to be the, what is your job there? What do they call you? The chancellor, the president, the emperor? What are you?
The president, Jim.
The president of Eden Seminary.
It's amazing.
Aiden, desire, the desire of the seminary. And when do you start, by the way? When is your official?
July 1.
Wow.
Whoa,
Coming.
that's great. That's great. Well, we're going to send you a T-shirt from the show, and we hope you'll feature it in your
Yeah, you know I will. Yeah.
in your very formal luncheons. I want you to feature the T-shirt. So, are you having this is a big thing that you're taking over. This is a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. I mean, we're in a transition now, so I've gotten my feet wet a little bit. I think I'm learning the ropes. So, yeah, it's really interesting. And it's a very interesting time to be doing it, when this is how you interact with people, from donors, to prospective students, to faculty. This is how you do it.
How many students do you have there,
We
approximately?
have a couple hundred students
Mhm.
in
And they're
all the
really-
different
talk about
programs.
diversity. They're so diverse. Even though
Yes,
it's a
they are.
Christian seminary, there's a tremendous diversity there.
In age and nationality and experience and race, ethnicity, culture. So denominationally, it's very ecumenical too. So it's a great place.
Now, are you guys going to get married?
We're
Soon.
thinking about it.
Soon.
How long have you been married?
31 years.
31 in June.
Did you meet in seminary? Was it
We
that
ended
kind of
here.
thing?
We did. We met at
We
Eden
did.
Seminary,
We did.
the Desire spot.
Yeah, the Desire Seminary.
Oh, now
We met
no,
over laundry.
now I understand the name.
Yeah, we met. I was doing my laundry, and Bill was complaining about St. Louis.
What year? The first year?
She was first, I was second.
You were here a year already?
Deb was, yeah.
Oh, Deb was, okay.
Yeah.
So I was doing my laundry, and Bill was complaining about banks in St. Louis and how nothing worked right. And I thought, he's pretty cute.
You plucked up a less experienced man, in other words.
I did.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I did.
So where are you from? Where are you two from?
I'm from here in St. Louis.
I'm from Washington State.
Washington State?
Yeah, I came all the way here for Deb. So I grew up in the Seattle area.
Who the hell lives there?
Oh, just, people who love the mountains and the ocean.
Oh, I see. Okay. Wow, so you came here, then you got, how many children do you have?
2 daughters,
Two
Isabel
daughters.
and Rebecca.
And one just graduated from college, right?
Yes, she
Yes.
did.
I saw a picture of that.
Mazel tov.
That was a cute picture.
Yeah.
Her jumping around, that was so cute.
Yeah. In social work.
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah. Well, she's in Chicago?
Yeah.
Sweet. I know all about you, actually.
I know you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I do. I do. So, are you going to move into the campus there, or are you going to do that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just gonna
Good
move
face.
And move
So
and move.
we just moved into this house and we really like it. We live in New City, but quite close to Bill's church, our church, but the church Bill pastors. But we'll be moving back to the campus.
Wow. Are you going to invite, nobody ever invites me twice. So
Yeah.
I have been to your house once.
Yes, you have. We had that. I was going to say that was the last time we were all together.
Right.
Together.
Yeah.
That was
Good
in,
time.
when was that, in
January.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We
Yeah.
were showing
January.
the pictures of our trip that
Yeah.
we took
Yeah.
last summer
Mhm.
to Israel and Palestine.
It was not boring.
No.
Oh,
No, it was
No.
not boring.
No,
I'm just saying.
the trip or the visit. Oh, we have
you keep saying that, Jim.
No, it
sounds-
wasn't
you don't
boring.
mean it. It sounds like
I
it.
do mean it. It was not boring. I even had a good time that night.
Hey,
Yeah.
Becky.
And I did not tell a story that went on too long.
No.
God, thank God. We met in seminary too.
Yeah.
I know that,
Uh-huh.
and you showed me the steps.
Oh, I did. That's right. When we were in Jerusalem, I told my sisters the story, how we met on the steps of Hebrew Union College. And
It was
We-
kind of softy.
Say what?
It was a little softy, the way you
Little-
guys met and how it
Oh,
all.
saucy. Yes, it was.
It was.
That doesn't belong on the show, by the way. But I have to say, there is a sense of ritual consciousness that if you can attach to beginnings, if beginnings are really that hot, wrong word. If beginnings are really that profound, you can attach to them for a long time and they can sustain for a long time.
So how long have you all been married then?
40, 50 years, I'm at least. How long?
40 years this month.
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah. And we still delight each other. And one of the reasons we do is because we're really different. And secondly, we're able to return to beginnings because beginnings were so profound that we attach to them again.
Yeah, so like, sorry.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that?
I do. And I think that kind of sharing that, having that, like you said, that beginning, well, it's the origin, right? It's like, it wasn't just like we were in the dating scene, we were in a very, each of us in a profound time in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think it made the connection
Yeah.
so much more kind of naked.
We're using all the wrong language here. You know that, don't you?
Well, it's hot being a religious leader. So,
There you
people
go.
don't know that, but it really
Super
is.
hot. It's super hot.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like the next reality show.
Yeah.
The truth of it is, so one of the things, like when we're working with the kids now and stuff like that, and they're going through these rituals, we explain this to them, or we kind of slip it into them and say that we're going to do something for you, and you're going to participate in something that is so profound that it's going to sustain you for until you leave your home. And you're going to be able to draw upon this for the kind of strength you're going to need to be in transition until you become an adult. And they look at me like little puppies with a cocked head, like, what are you saying? What are we getting into here? And they do experience that. It's a way of drawing upon ritual that can sustain long after the event itself takes place. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about that a lot. Like, it's the same with the studies and the teachings. The teachings I think that we have to pull out now, especially, have to be likewise more profound because we need them more. They have to sustain more. And there's something has burned off of the excess of the externals has burned off, I think. And that's what I'm feeling in my teaching. The externals has burned off, and what we're left with is very, very tight and serious. And most of the time when I'm done with the class, I'll send out a note the next day, an email the next day saying, whoa, this is what we did. Nobody should miss this, because sometimes you could have an experience and you can miss it. You can miss how profound it is until somebody says, do you remember that? And I say, oh yeah, I missed it. Yeah, you could miss it. Anyway, Zaki's on here too. Zaki's my pal, my collaborator from Brooklyn. He's in Brooklyn.
Hey, Zach.
Oh, all right.
You
Brooklyn.
see him?
Hey guys.
He's my collaborator,
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
my major man.
I jumped in at a good moment. I'm happy I caught exactly what I caught.
Zach is also a rabbi. Grew up in St. Louis and went to the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York and serves congregation in New York, and is an amazing musician. Has been a collaborator of Jim's for a long time, and they've known each other forever. And Zach, you want to tell us, before you maybe play something, tell us what's happening in the streets of Brooklyn? It looks like
We just left. I got up to see my folks in Cape Cod. We got here just today. We've been in Brooklyn for months, and we live 5 minutes from Barclays, which is one of the main meeting places. So I've been there the last couple of days. It's of course, tense and strong and filled with all the angst of a culture that's, abhorred with our leadership and the systems of oppression that have been on for so long. But it's also been so hopeful and beautiful. The energy's been, for the most part, very, very peaceful. The small fringes of negative energy are very, very small. The leadership is doing a beautiful job of like on the night that they instated the curfew. I think the curfew is going to come on at 8, and already at 7:30 or so they said, go home, go home. We need you here tomorrow and the next day and the day after. Go home. Have time to get home. And
Nice.
yeah, so so it's good, and I hope it stretches on for a long, long time.
You know, that's one of the things that I felt is different this time. Some of the emails that we've been getting from the clergy that are out there say, you know, we're out here, there's plenty of people, space yourself, take care of yourself. You know, we're gonna cover this, but we'll cover it all together. Nobody has to feel like they have to be everywhere all the time. And that's different. I mean, I think during Ferguson, there were just so few of us. We felt like we had to be there all the time,
Mm.
right? So this is different. There's more people. There's more people. There's more energy.
I think that's true. And also, you know, with New York and Brooklyn, like I'm seeing one little area, which happens to be a center for downtown Brooklyn, but this is happening all over the city. Every neighborhood has thousands of people coming out hours and hours of a day. It's not even, you go online to look for like, when's the meeting time? They're out all day, you know, so it's very special.
Oh, Fallon had 2,000 people show up.
I know.
I know.
Walden had thousands of people
I
show
know,
up.
but just
Yeah.
the thing I saw on the live stream, it looked like there were 500 people at Brentwood Boulevard.
Today.
You know, it was action by that, you know, like where Trader Joe's is.
Yeah. I think that's really encouraging, right? Should be wearing masks, being careful.
Yeah, but you know,
Well, a lot of people are.
And they are, right.
yeah.
Yeah. I noticed the police are not as much.
Hmm.
But the people are wearing masks.
They didn't before either, though.
Right. We'll make sure they have them.
It's been mixed in New York. I think I feel like most of the protesters are wearing masks.
Mhm.
Spacing is happening a bit. What was I gonna say? Oh, you know, there is a little bit of, there's definitely the discrepancy of you know, and caring for a congregation with a range of ages. It's, you've got this disease that affects our elders in a different way, and so the streets have been filled more with, you know, people 20 to 40 who just don't fear that in the same way, and so you notice that. And I mean, I guess I would hope that hopefully we get positive things on COVID in the coming months, and the protests can fill out.
All right, I'm gonna take a moment here and read a poem, the end of a poem. The poem itself is long and about characters that nobody recognizes. So I'm only going to read the end of the poem. But it's about this, there's a strange mitzvah in the Torah about a body is found between towns. And they measure to the closest town and go to the closest town and convene the elders. And they do this ritual with the elders. And the elders have to take a calf and break its neck and do this Levitical ritual over it, wash your hands in its blood and say, I did not shed this blood. And so the commentators want to know, who would think that the elders of the town, of the closest town, it seems so arbitrary that they would have any, Rashi even asks, who would think that they would have anything to do with this terrible little body found in a wild place? And the answer, you know, is the response is that Heschel brought this out in his book on the prophets, that there's a distinction between responsible and guilty. Some are guilty, everyone responds, everybody is in some way responsible. And the responsibilities are subtle, levels of inquiry, of self-inquiry, very subtle, but everybody has a part in it. So it's a really profound mitzvah, and you know, and we were talking about it in the class the other night, and one of the students said this great thing about that it's like a combination between a Levitical and a Deuteronomic approach, and that there's this Levitical thing that you do this great mystery ritual, you know,
Right.
and then there's this Deuteronomic approach, which is justice. justice, and that in the pursuit of justice, it's such an elusive pursuit that it begins with everyone recognizing I have some responsibility. So this is the end of the poem about that. So the end of the poem. So I don't want anybody in my proximity to accuse me of going on too long about characters.
I was gonna say,
I mean, nobody here would do that, I don't think. Finally, the elders of the truth of it is, though, I am guilty of this thing. So I really appreciate it brought to my attention, and that there are some people in my life that have a civilizing influence on me.
yeah.
Finally, the elders of the closest town, the third group of elders, shall wash their hands and say this: our hands did not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. The myth of it, cleansing through mystery ritual. From Maimonides, it's like a detective story. There's a strategy to solve a murder. Stir it up. Maybe someone will be found responsible. But from Leviticus, it's the mystery of absolution. And from Deuteronomy, it's the chase for justice, justice, and mercy.
Mhm.
So the makam of the week is, what is it this week?
Not playing it.
Okay.
I love that.
You got it.
Okay, good. Zachy and I are into this very abstract thing about these musical forms that we totally obsessed over for a good part of our adult lives. And we play these musical forms and combine them with poetry, and we made a really, we invented a form, don't you think, Zachy?
Yeah, we did.
We invented a form. So it's a really beautiful form, and it involves these musical forms. So Zachy's playing the oud there. That's the classic instrument of the Eastern Mediterranean in which these musical forms are played on. And so Zachy is going to play something for us.
I'm gonna play the piece is called A Wish. It's by a great oud player named Hamza el-Din. He's from Nubia, southern Egypt, and he plays in an African style. A lot of the oud gets played in Middle Eastern and Turkish and different styles, but he took it and added an African sound. The makam happens to be makam ajam, so maybe that is the weekly makam, and maybe I am playing it. But it felt like to honor Hamza, an African player, and this is we recorded an album that'll be released sometime later in the summer, and this is on it.
Is this a wish?
This is A Wish. Oh, and I was like watching some old videos of him, and he tunes the oud up, and I didn't do that on the recording, and I think I made a mistake. He tunes the D, he tunes it up to D and G, and then he plays the song in the key of G, and I think I should have done that. So now I figured it out.
But the tradition is that you're allowed one really good mistake. You do understand that, don't you? As a matter of fact, it's preferred. And if you don't make the mistake, you have to add it.
The other thing I was going to say that I didn't is this: you're the second person in the span of 40 minutes to mention Heschel's The Prophet to me. And it has to do with a greater mistake than an oud mistake.
Sweet Zachy.
Beautiful, Zach.
You know, Zachy, I have a memory of, I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe you know. I have a memory that I believe Bill Graham got onto Hamza al-Din, and I believe he brought him into the Fillmore West. Like way back, nobody knew what the heck an oud was. I believed Hamza al-Din played there.
It was in '78. They played for they played for the first time in Giza at the pyramids.
Ugh.
And then after that, it was, who did you name?
Bill Graham, the Fillmore West
It was,
guy.
but it was because of the drummer. It was because of the Dead's
Oh,
drummer.
Hart, Mickey
It
Hart.
was Mickey
Yeah,
Hart, and him
right.
became friends.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, he was a drummer also, and so Mickey Hart learned how to play from him. And he's on YouTube. He's worth watching his YouTubes. He talks about how an instrument contains the 4 elements in it. I was listening to this the other night, and if you play the drum and you play the air and the fire and the water and the earth in it, the way Mickey Hart described it, he would play quietly and draw you into the music as opposed to playing out at you so that you danced in it. He would pull you into the music.
You ever seen that book that Mickey Hart did about drumming?
Mm-mm.
Check it out. It's a book that it's written like that. It's a really interesting book. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, I remember he played such a sparse, interesting style, and he had a great presence. I've seen his YouTubes. Great presence on stage. Hamza al-Din. Really beautiful presence. Really holy music. I think that's where I started listening to, was to him. Well, let's see what else we got going here. What time? Oh my goodness. Well, we still got a few minutes. I want to make sure everybody knows who's on the big show tonight. We covered our hair tips. We got Susan Talvey here. We got Bill Perman and Deb Kraus. What the heck is that? Oh, that's your machine. Deb Kraus and Bill Perman, and they're friends of ours. And pardon?
I'm agreeing.
Agreed. Yeah. Thanks, Susan.
You have to be careful with
Friends,
Susan.
colleagues and friends.
Colleagues and
you
friends.
know.
Susan tells the story, but she enters the story in the middle. And in her mind, she's been through the beginning of the story, but she enters the story in the middle. So when you're with her, you have to kind of bring this to people, the beginning of the story. And so these two are our friends. We know them. And so we asked them to be on the big show. And also because Susie and Deb
And Bill.
and Bill were hanging out on the streets of Ferguson. I guess that's when you really got close, huh?
It is.
Yeah. So we've known them ever since, and we hung out with them sometimes. We introduced them to some good tea. Oh, just a mention of tea, by the way.
Oh,
Tea.
Okay, I'll read a
so
poem.
nice. You gave us that beautiful pot.
Yeah, it's nice to share tea.
That is so nice, and you gave us a poem about tea.
Oh yeah, tea is a very big subject around here.
But while Jimmy's looking for the tea, I also want to say that one of the reasons I really wanted to spend some time with you tonight is that this feels like a really important time for St. Louis, for Ferguson, for this region. I feel like we were in many ways the epicenter. Today I did a webinar for rabbis across the country. They asked me for the Torah of Ferguson. And as I was putting together the Torah of Ferguson, and I did it with Michael Latz, who's a rabbi in Minneapolis. And he was talking about what's happening on the street right there. And he came to Ferguson. He came and spent Ferguson October with us.
Yeah.
With the Trua group. And he, what they said at Trua, and when I was doing this webinar today, was that the way that the clergy found their way into the heart of the protest during Ferguson has informed how they do everything, how they've done everything from then until now. And they really are leaders now in racial justice work. And in finding
Was it recorded, Susan?
It is recorded. Yeah, it's on
The call was recorded?
Yeah.
It's on their website?
I believe it's on their website. I can send it to you too. It was recorded. But they were very, very clear that the Torah of Ferguson, which wasn't my Torah, but it was your Torah in many ways, the Torah of so many, that it really has informed the work and brought us to where we are today, where people who you wouldn't expect are on the street. But I also want to mention one person that we both love in common, that it was there then and is there now, and that is Mama Cat and Pot Bangers, because Deb is a member of Pot Bangers. Do you want to just say a word about that so that people know that
Yeah, Pot Bangers
is asking how to help, and this is one of the ways to help?
yeah, well, Mama Cat is leading people even through this COVID time, gathering in a social distancing safe way. They're working out of a church in Ferguson, St. Peter's United Church of Christ in Ferguson, where they're making the food. And they're doing that on Thursdays, as they have before COVID started. So they continue with a smaller crew, and they've done kind of I really appreciate how the community really organized very quickly to understand who would be vulnerable, including Mama Cat. So she doesn't go out usually, she prepares the food, and then the younger bangers take it to the streets, and it gets distributed and shared as folks are able to share. So it's very different, but continuing that mission. And if people are interested in learning about it, you can go to potbangers.org, and we have a Facebook page, we have a website, and there's a place to donate if that's something you're interested in. But there's also all kinds of ways to get involved, and lots of great videos. So it's a good website, and
With a Z, right?
Pot Bangers, and that's one of Mama Cat's terms. That she came up with that name.
Great. Well, thanks for the work that you do, and thanks for sharing that. So, because I know there's people who can't be out there,
Right.
but there's always something people can do, and that's one of them.
Right. So they're out tonight. Thursday night is the night. So that's the regular night. But then during protest time, Mama Cat's always organizing to get people food, and that's how she started in Ferguson, was preparing food for protesters, and she really fed the movement for months and months and months and months, and then through Stockwell too. So she kind of started here in St. Louis in that way. And so when we move into these times where the movement moves into protest, she seems to always be organizing with people to bring food to protesters and snacks and things like that.
Yeah. It's
Which
about
is
taking care of each other. Thank you.
Before we close, I'm going to read a piece about tea.
Oh yeah.
We're back to the tea.
This
Of
is
course.
called Want Tea. My tea mentor was a guy.
I think that's you. Oh, it's Sarita. I'll tell her.
A guy I used to, we used to tour together. He is a wonderful guitarist, and so we went on the road together for a while. We did a lot of shows together, and he opened up a lot of doors for me, this guy, and he always brought tea, and tea was some sort of sacrament with him. And this is the story. When I met Sander, he was drinking from a cup. "Would you like some tea?" he asked me. "No, I don't want any tea." Sander met Susan. They had me to dinner. "Would you like some tea?" Sander said. "No, thanks." Sander's table was a well-set table, meticulous. The particulars significant because they opened onto everything. "How about some tea?" Sander said. "No, thank you. I don't want tea." I went away for a few years. When I returned, Sander said, "Want some tea?" No tea, thanks. Sandra and Susan moved. I visited them in New York City. Would you like some tea? No, thank you. Sandra and Susan moved again to Arizona. I came to visit. Would you like some tea? Not yet, I said. Then they had a daughter. I came to see her. Sandra said, do you want some tea? Yes, I said. I would like to try some tea. Then Susan died. Do you want some tea? Sandra said. Lots of tea, I said. I want tea and tea trays and pots and kettles. I want tea from China and India and that tea from Russia. I want that. On Sunday, I want Assam tea. The monkey-picked tea from the mountains of Fujian, I want that. And those teas from Africa, I want those. The first flush from India and the second flush and the wooden spoons and the ivory scoops, I want them. The jade cup with the hat on it, I want that. I want tea. I want tea and I want it now. I want tea, please, until I am done.
Wow. So we haven't talked much about this virus, and one thing I've kind of said to my congregation is it's sort of like a fast that's been forced upon us, a fast that we haven't chosen. And you just that poem, I'm like, I want to have tea with you in person, and I want to touch you and hold you, and that's going to be so sweet when we get there.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
It will. It will.
For those of us who are introverts, it's dangerous time.
Yeah.
We do this well. I could teach people how to do this. So therefore, I wrote the book on how to be the introvert. But you know what? I'm not proud of that book. And when this is over, I'm done with that book.
All right.
You want people, like you want people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for coming to the big show.
Oh,
It's a good show.
thanks for having
It was
us.
nice to be in it.
And thanks for everything that you both do.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
you.
Nice to meet you, Zachary.
Oh, such a pleasure. Such a
And
pleasure.
here's the bonus of this kind of time, that we get to be in your living room and hear this. Or are we in your bedroom? I can't tell.
This is a bedroom that it's a room. It's not mine.
But Zach, when's the CD coming out?
I think we're gonna do it ourselves in August. We recorded it on Full Moon Elul, which was whatever. So maybe we'll do it around then. I'll let everybody know.
So
Yeah.
Speaking of full moon Elul, these are tough times. They really are. But there's something amazing happening. There really is. There's something good happening. It's
I believe
messy.
it too.
It's messy, and it's going to be hard and it's not going to be easy. But something wonderful is happening. And if we are diligent and if we do this work and if we are careful and if we are patient, and we continue to connect in the ways that we can, then I think by Elul, we will be ready to blow the shofar every day to wake us back up so that by Rosh Hashanah, the new moon of Tishrei, right, we will be able to wish each other a good year, a healthy year, and maybe even a year of justice.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, gang. That's good. I
Love you
believe
guys.
the
That's
last
wrong.
word to Susan Talvey.
All right.
And thanks everybody for watching. I don't know. We don't really know who's watching. We don't see it on our screen. So
That's good.
yeah. But usually there's 2 or 3 people watching us.
But I'm usually one of them.
Great. But I know we have a lot of good friends out there and a lot of people who are really doing the work, whatever work it is. And we really appreciate you. We appreciate that. And we'll be back next Thursday night.
Awesome.
All right.
I think it's interesting you have such a little face and a big hand.
Love you guys. We miss you. We miss you. We miss you.
Yeah.
Becky, kiss your family for us and stay
Yeah.
safe and give our love to Brooklyn,
Well,
my birthplace, my homeland.
All right.
Love you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Everybody. Thank you.